especially with the upcoming Nami and her being able to like feed it with the lightning rod. I think he needs to do
I hate you guys so goddamn much.
Especially when he eats the little cloud bubbles, and then he gets angry and he does what I consider to be very politically incorrect. He becomes black and violent.
Good point.
What is good, homies? This is Chris from Small Hat Crew, joined today by Small Hat Manny.
Hello, everybody.
And Small Hat Brandon.
I was first last time, and now you just made me last.
Well, that's why you're last this time. So you're first last time. Manny gets to be
now
first
you're lagging.
You're lagging.
Hi, guys.
All right, so basically, this is like the third attempt or whatever. First time I didn't get their face cam. Second time I didn't get my own. I couldn't hear them, so we got it this time. On the 16th, it has been announced, confirmed that we are getting a ban list. So we're going to put our thoughts out there, make our predictions and whatnot. We're going to go ahead and touch on multiple different cards that we think are problematic, cards that the community thinks are problematic, and just, you know, weigh in on that. Let's go ahead and start with Pudding as a card. So, all right, I'll go ahead. Pudding is a card I personally do not believe to be problematic. I don't think that she needs to be restricted or banned in any kind of way. I think that she's a card that can be played around for the most part. I think there are a lot of different matchups that people do lose to Pudding where they're just not countering early enough and things like that. I've watched many games where people play into the Pudding, get punished severely for it. So that's why I think a lot of decks, when it comes to Pudding, a lot of losing to Pudding is skill issue. There are some decks obviously that can't play around that, but I'll let you go ahead and take the podium, Brandon, since you're on the opposing side.
I do think Pudding is problematic because it is just a 4-cost card that has a body for one Don can swing, but it can be played in any, and it is played in pretty much any deck that includes blue.
It's a blue
The
staple.
fact that just because this card exists, other decks have to change their entire play style because this card exists. I know it's not searchable, but blue has a ton of cards that can like stack top 5, put those 5 to the bottom. Being able to disrupt multiple decks just by having this card in your color pool. And it's not like it's a deck's like it's not like it's a deck's identity. It's that this card just exists. That's why I think restricting it to 1 so that you still have to know that like it's in their deck somewhere, but you don't have to necessarily play around it. And then if you get hit with it, you can be like, okay, going forward, I don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Unless they bounce it, and then just I don't know what the hell's happening in your game.
I would like to weigh in on that. However, not until Manny has spoken.
So my only thing is that because she's not searchable outside of 2 decks, and then yes, blue has a lot of ways to stack, so you're pseudo searching her. It's the fact that you're having to commit your draw to the Pudding instead of a play that extends your combo, and you're hoping that your opponent plays into the Pudding. Because the thing is that the moment I play a game and I see blue, how you said that it's a staple, I assume they have Pudding. So my hand is always going to stay between 6 to 7 cards. 7 is if like I'm like I don't really have a play, but realistically my hand's going to stay around 6 cards realistically. But it's one of those things like I know I'm going to counter early, keep my hand small so that the Pudding just becomes a 1K. And it's just something where it's like that's a skill thing. It's not like, and the funny thing is, the funny thing is, unlike other matchups where you're like, I need to see this card to beat my opponent's cards, this is just something anyone can do, which is like, he's playing blue, I keep my hand small. And then their Pudding is useless. Because you're going to spend 4 Dawn to make me lose 1 card, that's fine. And more often than not, there are times where like, my hand's dead and the Pudding fixes it.
That is true too. I don't think that should be like something to take away from Pudding. I will say though, because Bandai, the precedent they've set up to this point is that if a card is to be restricted in some way, it's either getting banned or it's being hit to 1. They've never done a 2, a semi-limit or anything like that. And the thing about Pudding is she's one of those cards that people usually play at 2 anyway. So if you're going to restrict her to 1, you basically take her from 2 copies to 1 copy. And at that point, I feel like when a card is restricted to 1, when your opponent sees it, it makes it that much more like tilting, because now you've been like luck sacked because they hit the one copy in their 50 card. They hit the 2%. So that's why I'm not. Yeah, exactly. I'm not like an advocate, I think, for like if it's a card that like is being ran at 4 and it's very problematic, I'm all for hitting it to like 1. Or if they're running like 3 copies, you hit it to 1. But if they're only running it at 2 anyway, I don't see what hitting it to 1 really does besides make it like that much bigger of a blowout. At least with it at 2, you have to play with it in mind and stuff like that. But yeah, because this isn't really like a tier list or anything, we don't really have to sway each other's opinions or anything. So I guess we just get our thoughts out there, move on to the next card. We'll go ahead and move on to, what are your thoughts on a card like Moby Dick coming back?
So my take is that the game, during the time of when this card first came out during set 2, the game was significantly slower.
Yeah.
Where that you were always getting to this point. You know what I mean? To the point where it's like by the time we got here, Whitebeard had a huge board to be oppressive with. Now that we have like decks that go wider, faster, like Dolphin and stuff like that. And people would think like, oh well, Whitebeard is going to be at 1 less life, and then you have to deal with this. Yeah, but at this point, so early, he doesn't have the same hand as if we were in late game.
Not to mention, pudding exists.
And pudding exists, so it's like one of those things where it's like, I think this card could come back because this would just be his late game card for him to have.
Yeah, I still
think it's too strong.
Really? So here's my stance on why I think Moby Dick could come back as a card. Chris? I think Moby Dick could come back because, basically it gives Whitebeard a very strong like late game push. But I think if you're running, I think it gives people it's like an incentive to even play Whitebeard in current day. Not, I think the main reasons that this card could be argued as being problematic, even though I wouldn't agree, would be like because there's like the new 6k ace with rush that now becomes an 8k with rush. Ace becomes a 7-9. There are some big rushers. All of a sudden, Jozu becomes a respectable body. But I think that I don't think that this card existing turns Whitebeard into like the best deck of the format. I don't think it even puts him like the top 3 even. And I think like if it does make him a strong deck, but he's not even like so degenerate that he's like top 3 worthy or anything like that, then I think he's allowed to have it. I think he's allowed to exist with a card like that. Also, I think that, again, like if you want to play Whitebeard in a meta where like a card like Pudding exists, because if Moby Dick being unbanned is what incentivizes you to play, Whitebeard in current day, more power to you, because maybe you'll hire somebody with the Moby Dick, but there are also going to be games where you're going to get blown out by the Pudding, because Whitebeard is unfortunately one of those decks that can't play around the Pudding. So Brandon?
I don't know, man. I didn't play any Whitebeard in set 2. I played against enough to know that this card is strong as shit. Late game on those last 2 turns of Whitebeard, it's even 3 turns depending on like where you're at. Leader is an 8k swing, and then you have 3 to 4 bodies. Like you're getting at least 8k passive power off of stage, plus rushes being extra 2. I think it was just it was bad card design to begin with. The fact that they gave it trigger play this card, someone really wanted Whitebeard to win. I still think as a stage it is too strong.
I also think that because one, it only triggers in the late game, and odds are the Whitebeard player is going to get to 0. And now that like blue has like perfume and red Tekken, depending on the red leader, like the Jinbe, like is that a point? And then well, like especially for blue, where it's like they can go pudding, perfume, and then load everything on the leader and go swing, and you lose. Yeah. The math is you lose.
I think because that's what I feel like there are so many things working against Whitebeard in the current landscape of One Piece that like I think with a card like Moby Dick not existing, it's almost like running Whitebeard in current day almost feels like a meme. So I feel like if Moby Dick is one of those cards that would give him a push to at least attempt to compete with the meta, so be it. That's kind of my final stance on him. Anything before we move on to the next card?
Or put it at 1.
I can see it at 1.
Oh yeah, I forgot restrictions are a thing. That's right. All right. Okay.
I can see him at 1.
Yeah. Okay. Next card we'll talk about, Brandon. I know you want to talk about 8-Drop Kid.
I would put him in the annoying category.
Same.
I personally like that Kid every now and then finds, like, weasels his way into the meta, and then just completely disappears for a few sets after, like, one solid set. He has more play around. What I like about Kid is that when he's really relevant in the meta, people have to find ways to play around Kid, such as cards that, right now you have, for example, Red Green Smoker. People can't get rid of it because of the 3-drop Tashigi, so people are teching cards that lowers his power to make it so that it's like, okay, you either lose him or you lose, like, all 3 of your blockers, all 3 or 4 of your blockers. So I like him existing in the meta because it forces people to tech different cards. And I like when people have to kind of, like, tech against decks, you know what I mean?
I like that. I agree. Like it's just annoying. I don't ever think that he's overwhelming. It's definitely a payoff for the green decks because outside of him, the best you have, I think, is like 10-drop Dolphy. But even then, like there's game scenarios where you're like, I 10-dropped you, I stopped all 3 of your attacks, but you still have a leader swing, and I don't have the guard to stop it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
My take on 8-drop Kid is
so it's just stuff like that.
He's not a card that I really, like, am glad exists or anything like that, but I also think he needs to go anywhere. I kind of look at him like I look at, like, Moby Dick, for example, where Whitebeard is kind of struggling as is, and there will be games where Moby Dick will let you take a game. I kind of look at that as I kind of view Green as being that, like, the incarnate of that. Green is probably, like, the weakest color in the game currently, and if 8-drop Kid is a card that does enable them to compete to some capacity and sometimes win games, then I'm all for it. I don't think that decks need to be kicked while they're down, and that's why I think that, you know, Kid's fine. That's kind of where I am with it.
That's funny as shit.
What card would you guys like to talk about? You pick Manny.
I would go. Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, no, you go.
Okay. I will go. Son of a bitch. I'll go with Jinbe.
Yes, let's talk about Jinbe. Where is he? Oh, here he is.
To me, Jinbe,
the 4-drop 2K Jinbe, right?
4K, 4 cost, 2,000 power, no counter, bottom of 3.
So I just want to bring up Jinbe.
Yeah.
So my thing with Jinbe, and I know I'm speaking from a high horse because I'm also a Dolphy player, but but to me, I feel that I don't think he's really problematic because, like, I understand he plays a body for free, but then there's black, and like if Blue's best body producer is just producing another 4K body that happens to do something else that doesn't also involve bringing
6K.
another body.
That's true. 6K.
You're right. Is that like when Black goes Gecko Rebecca for Spandan for Lucci? You're right. My bad.
Brother,
We'll
you
talk
can't
about
compare
Gecko.
him
Hold
to
on,
Gecko on a video or talking
8
about.
gone.
If Gecko's the defense, then Jinbe's a problem.
You get Jinbe on turn 2.
Yeah, but the thing is, all the bodies I'm producing, like outside of that, like all the Blues bodies that you play in, like the Dolphy decks or other 4-drops, that are all manageable attack wise.
Oh, God.
And then and they're just doing what they're just doing what Zero does, where it's like they're just going wide trying to push the body. But if you can fend it off enough, then you win the game. Or if you have a body that's too big for them to handle, they can't.
Bro, Jinbe can cheat out 6K bodies like Boa Blocker and Weevil. Weevil on play immediately.
Those are the only 2 6Ks!
So here's my thing.
That's 8 cards in your deck. And you also, it's in probably one of the most consistent decks because they have Sengoku Searcher, they have Perona, there's so many different cards. Not to mention on top of it.
Okay, but
wait.
If you take that out, yeah. Go ahead,
wait, I'll continue. Jinbe is also, so Jinbe cheats out 6K bodies so often, and that's a 6K body that's swinging at you in addition to the 7K leader swing. If he cheats like a Boa out, then the Boa turns your leader into an 8k swing, then the Boa can cheat like a Jinbe off the top or something because she stacks the deck for you. Not to mention, Jinbe is one of those cards where they can play the Jinbe. They can play Jinbe, play Law, bounce Jinbe back, teach, put the Jinbe back on top of the deck, leader ability, bring the Jinbe back out, cheat another body out. Jinbe is so fucking degenerate. The fact he brings the body out active is the problem with this card. If it came out tapped, I'd have no complaints. It's the fact he plays a body active in a deck that can play him multiple times in one turn. It is so stupid. And he has counter, and it's only 4 costs. And you can even do plays with him where it's like on 10 Dawn, you can go like Gecko Moria, Gecko pick up Boa blocker from trash, play the Boa blocker, stack the Jinbe to the top, swing with leader ability, play the Jinbe off the top, Jinbe play a body from hand. You just played 4 bodies on 10 Dawn. Bro, this card is way too strong. And then,
but this is the thing. But this
I will
thing
say
that
one final thing.
What you just said. Go for it.
One final thing.
Yeah.
In this game, bodies that are cheating out other bodies. Brook is a 4 that cheats out a 3. Ulti is a 4 cost that cheats out a 4 cost, but she can only cheat out a vanilla. It's a specific name even. Ohm cheats out Holy, a specific name. Like, he is the only body that cheats out stuff bigger than himself or equal to himself while having counter with no downside whatsoever. There's no restriction on it whatsoever. He just fucking does it.
Can we talk about your Guild Tesoro deck then, with your body that cheats out any 4
That's
drop?
not out yet. That's not out yet, Brandon. They won't.
All right. Real quick.
Go
for it, man.
Let me say my take on
Okay.
Jinbe real quick. I think Jinbe should be restricted to 1. My
think
reason
so, too.
being, strong card. The fact that it can cheat out the Boa blocker, which is now a 6k. So now if I even want to swing at your rested Jinbe, I have to attach Dawn to leader and disrupt my turn 2 play, maybe turn 3. That's fucking wild. But the fact is, let's take it back to Pudding, right? Pudding is, I want to kind of take cards out of my hand so that I can play around her. You're getting a 7k swing with leader. Early game, I kind of have to take that 7k. Like, I kind of have no choice. So I'm taking that 7k, putting a hand, giving myself more cards in hand to worry about your Pudding, and you just cheated out 2 bodies on me. So at this point, like, depending on the deck, I'm just kind of fucked. You know what I mean?
Not to mention,
you just got 2 bodies out. I have to disrupt my next play if I even want to swing at your Jinbe.
Yeah. And Jinbe is also searchable. Unlike Pudding, Jinbe is searchable. And not to mention
Very
also...
searchable.
Jinbe is also just one of those cards where the reason I think restrict to 1 is the answer. Because, like, I think Jinbe, like, when you get Jinbe'd, it's not the end of the world. But if your opponent double Jinbe's you, there's a lot of games where, like, the game's just over at that point. Like, there's usually no coming back from getting Jinbe twice, you know? So, anyway, go for it, Manny, because we kind of...
So this is the thing.
Yeah.
To your
Remember,
example
he's a Doki
before,
player.
I know. To your example before, where you were talking about your 10 Dawn turn, notice how many cards you needed to make that whole play work.
You only needed 1.
No, in your scenario, you had the Gecko.
You only
in your
need
hand.
the Gecko.
So no. But the thing is, that means we're just high rolling. If we're gonna talk about high rolling, then
That's not high rolling. It's just a Gecko.
No, because you did Gecko into Boa to stack to 3. That hopefully Jinbe is one of them. Then to proceed on forward.
Well, okay, all right. So look at it like this then.
If that's there.
Look at it like this then. Okay, so even removing Jinbe from that equation then. So realistically, the only card you need to have, because Boa's going to be in the trash. There's no debating that. Boa's in the trash by the time Dofi's on 10 Dawn. So the only card you need to see at this point in the game is a Gecko. And if you see the Gecko, you pick up the Boa. If you see the Boa, you do a stack. So this is a leader that on a low roll is putting 3 bodies on the board. And if Jinbe happens to be one of those, if Jinbe happens to be in that top 3, now it's 4 bodies on the board. Jinbe's being played in a leader that can do that.
But also the fact that the leader is playing them from the top of the deck, so besides Jinbe playing the card out of hand, you're getting so much value because the bodies you're playing are from the top deck, which has always been strong since set 1, but it hasn't been as strong because your bodies were limited. But now that we have bodies like this, it's kind of
Yeah, but the thing the thing is, how I see it is that, like, yes, I'm producing all these bodies, But then there's, for example, Black has no problem with this deck. And that's the reason why Black and Dolphy are like going toe-to-toe on who's better. Black just pops it all. Like, yeah, I get to play it, but
Black, all right.
none of them has rush. None of them has rush.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think that Lucci has... So I think that Lucci probably has... So I think objectively, Enel has the best matchup into Dofi. And then Lucci is a leader that is favored into Dofi, but it's not so heavily lopsided that he loses it like majority of the time. That Lucci and the Dofi is a matchup that can go either way. And it's not even like it's like Black into Dofi, it's specifically Lucci.
And I think that triangle is the problem, which makes Dofi that strong, because Enel and Black... Enel does really good into Dofi. Black does pretty well into Dofi. I'll give you that. Like, Black can still lose to Dofi, but they are kind of favored in that matchup. But then Blackbeard exists. Dofi shits on Blackbeard, but Blackbeard existing, like, if you see Blackbeard as a Nell or a Black player, a Black color player, no real right way to say that, as a player that plays Black, but as a player that plays Black or a Nell, you just, I mean, if it's a somewhat decent Blackbeard player, you just scoop, right? So I think that's part of the problem as well. But I think, so let me ask,
and I don't even think it's a triangle.
You said what?
Because I don't even think the other decks are even represented. I don't, like, Enel, for example, I don't think it's a triangle because Enel's not even represented enough for him to be, like, a consistent matchup
Blackbeard
you have
exists.
to worry about and prepare for. Exactly.
And that's
which is why I think that, like, I think just, yeah, so, like, I don't even think there is a triangle. I think that Dofi is by and far, like, the best deck. Like, I don't think anything else really comes close to him. I think that Lucci is one of the decks that, it's not even like he keeps Dofi in check, because we've seen multiple different, like, events where the Lucci loses to the Dofi. Like, I think probably he's more consistently going to win that matchup between the two of them. But, like, I would say at worst, that matchup is probably, like, a 45-55.
This would be my last thing to say about the whole Jinbe thing without having to go into the other 7 warlords that we'll talk about. Yeah. It's that Jinbe was a card before the structure decks came out. But Dolphy, granted, he didn't have as many good bodies to play, but Jinbe was never the issue that broke the deck. It's that we have these new warlords that are overtuned, and Jinbe exposes it. But the thing is, I feel that if you were to hit Jinbe, so let's say Dolphy is running on 100%, right? For representation, it's running at 100%. Right. If you hit Jinbe, the deck drops to 60%. Because there's no way it can keep up to the other decks at that point. But if you hit the other decks, the deck goes to like 80. And at 80, the deck is still playable. Versus if you hit the Jinbe, I think the deck is now too fragile.
So
I think the Jinbe is what brings it down to the 80, I'm not gonna lie. I think it reels Dofi into where he should.
So let me ask a question then for Manny. Right now, do you think that Dofi is a problem with how much he's being represented, how powerful he is?
So it's almost kind of how we talked about like in earlier formats, where it's like he is heavily represented for a few reasons. One, it's a good deck. I'm not gonna say he's not a top tier deck because that's ignorant.
Right.
But he's one of the cheaper decks to build, so people gravitate towards that, and also. He wins, but other decks... No, he tops, but other decks win.
Fair, but he's also... Cards are cheaper. Go ahead.
But yeah, well, no, go ahead. But that's pretty much my thing. It's like, yeah, he's topping, but he's not winning.
But they don't have the same problem when it comes to cost of cards in the East, and Dofi isn't just winning in the West like Whitebeard was when he got banned. Dofi is stomping in the West and the East. Like, Dofi is just overall stomping.
No, but he's topping, but he's not winning.
And I also think... and I think something worth noting about that, however, though, is that it's because Dofi is the best deck in the meta, so when people do go into events, they tailor their deck specifically for a Dofi matchup. So the higher Dofi makes it up in the ranks or whatever, he starts having to play into the best players that are available playing decks made to beat his deck, unless it's like a mirror match or something like that. So I think the fact that he has warped the meta to a point where other people have to build their deck with him in consideration is also just like a dark against.
So Manny, what card in Dofi do you think should be hit, if any? And we'll kind of talk about that card next.
Good question.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think the card that should get hit in Dolphy is the Boa.
The 4-drop Boa, so let's bring that up.
So, Boa. So, funnily enough, so I don't think Boa is a broken card. I don't think she's a problematic card. I don't think she's a crazy strong card. However, if I did have to hit a card in Dolphy, obviously for me it is Jinbe. But if I were not to hit Jinbe, it would only be because I would not want collateral damage to go to Boa as a leader. So if I wanted a hit that would target Dolphy specifically without affecting Boa, I would go for Boa blocker, because while she can play Boa blocker, she doesn't utilize it nearly as well as Dolphy does. Dolphy pushes this card over the top. Boa does not. This is one of those hits where, like, if she were to get limited, it would hurt Dolphy more than anyone else. Yeah. And that would be it. Although I will say though, even with what I just said, I have that same argument for another card. I think there's another card that is a bigger problem than the Boa. All right, so let's finish this discussion. So Manny, Brandon, you guys weigh in on Boa, and then we'll move on to Law.
I think the Boa is only strong because I know the Boa is only strong because of Jinbe. Without Jinbe, I think it's a balanced. I think it's a very balanced card.
I don't think so. I don't think so because the Boa is also good in isolated instances because it lets you. So Dolphy before would be that if he's on evens on his 6th dawn turn, he would, if Jinbe was still a card, he would have to commit to a body or effect. There's no way around it. But with Boa, he can go body, stack, effect. And it's a real body. It's not like a Perona or a Buggy. And
correct.
So this Jinbe by himself says, even with Jinbe, if there's no Boa, he still can't use leader effect. He can do a swing, but there's no leader effect behind it. It's just Jinbe and a body. And that's it. Boa says, Boa, which is the upright active blocker, 6k blocker, and then I still get to swing 7k and produce another body.
Correct. But I want you to look at it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I want you to look at it like this, though. On 6th Dawn, Jinbe says, I can still swing 7 with leader, play Jinbe, and get another active body. So now you can't really do anything on your turn apart from removal.
But the thing is, that's 2 cards required in your hand, while the Boa does it by herself.
Yes, but she lets you at least respond to that tapped body that she's going to bring out, because she says, okay, I like the fact that she says on 6 Dawn I can still do leader ability. I think it's powerful. I don't think it's overtuned, because then it also says in those top 3 I have to have a body. There is a chance of low rolling and whiffing, and like only seeing like Peronas and Buggies, etc., or even events. And then she says, whatever body I do get out, you can respond to it with regular attacks. You don't have to use removal. I think that's a problem with Jinbe, is he forces us to use removal or take the hit next turn. And I think Boa isn't the problem because of that. I think Jinbe into Boa is a huge problem, but Boa by herself I don't think is a problem.
I think so. I'm between you guys on this. I do think that this card isn't as big a problem as Manny's making it out to be, but I do think it's bigger than Brandon's making it out to be. This card, because like for example, this card is what enables like on 10 Dawn, if Dolphy has no cards in hand, he top decks a Gecko. That turns into 3 characters on the board, potentially 4th there's a, Jinbe in there. So I do think that she is a really big. I think what she does for Dolphy is fucking insane. I think that she is one of the cards that got released that is pushing him over the top. I also don't like that she has a 6k body, because I feel like that alone. So one, she invalidated the previous Boa blocker, but even more than that, she made it so the reason Jinbe, if you wanted to cheat out like 6k bodies consistently, you had to run Weevil and you had to run Gecko vanilla. And now they don't have to run the vanilla anymore because they have another 6k body in addition to the vanilla that then turns on the leader ability. And like Manny was saying, before, like there were instances where you had to choose between effect or a body, and Boa just lets you get away with doing both of them. I don't know. I think that this is a part of me honestly does think that if Boa were to get hit, I think she would do about as much damage to Dofi as Jinbe getting hit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
I think Jinbe is.
But to your point, which I agree with.
Yeah.
Which is why I would rather Boa get hit than Jinbe. Is that Boa hurts Dolphy, but it doesn't hurt Boa. But Boa leader still gets to play Jinbe.
So my stance on it is I don't think she's restriction worthy. However,
problematic.
The only reason I ever would restrict her is if for whatever reason I wanted to keep Jinbe in the game. If I wanted to keep Jinbe in, then I would hit the Boa. But
okay.
I realistically, I would just gun for Jinbe.
All
right. So we'll go ahead and move on to our next card. Let's talk about Law, 4-cost Law. This is probably a hot take, because I know every time I'm streaming and chat's talking or whatever, there's always one or two people that always talk about fixing Dofi is hitting Law Bouncer. I disagree with that. The reason I disagree with that is because as a purple Luffy player, my worst matchup, besides the mirror match losing the coin flip, the worst matchup purple Luffy has is Dofi. And it has nothing to do with the Law Bouncer. Because in that matchup, you go second, you rip a life for leader ability, you put yourself on 5 Dawn, and you play Kid Blocker, or you play Sangoro, and you only play 5s, 7s, and 9s for the entirety of the game. You never play anything below 4 unless you absolutely have to, like a Zoro because you didn't see anything else. So this is a card that does almost nothing in the purple Luffy matchup, and Dofi still dominates that matchup regardless, because the problem with the problem with Dofi is not Law. If the problem with Dofi was Law, then this card would be doing insane things in the purple Luffy matchup. But it is nothing in that matchup, and we still get fucking rolled by Dofi regardless.
I'd put the card in annoying. Like when it works and it hits you and it like does exactly what it intends to do, it's a little annoying. It's just like but it's a good play. I don't think that's absolutely not the card King Dofi right now. It's not.
It's not. This card can be annoying. It can feel oppressive if you're like on a more rogue leader or something like that. But I would rather my opponent play a Law and bounce one of my bodies than play like a Jinbe into a Boa, you know? Like, there's worse things that Dofi can be doing to you, and
the people that want this banned are they just play Blackbeard and forgot to do leader ability and got their burgers bounced. That's what it is.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So the card funnily enough, the problem, so the way I said like Law's not the problem in the purple Luffy matchup, purple Luffy and the Dofi, the problem card is actually 2 cost.
That card is strong.
He is such a big problem. So basically, if they see Teach, you almost just lose the matchup at that point. It is to the point where we have to dedicate deck space to playing Kamazo as one of our 2Ks, and we ramp it on, we stick it on the board, and then we hope they don't have the Law, because if they bounce Kamazo back, Teach just sticks. Yeah. Basically, if Teach sticks, that matchup becomes so much more unwinnable, so you have to try to run outs to it, but then Dofi can out the outs with cards that are within archetype, so they're not even like he has to like draw into them or like heart draw them or anything, so he can consistently out to the Teach. Because Teach sticking basically lets Dofi can play that entire matchup with like 2 cards in his hand and not even care. He doesn't even care about not having, because literally we have to keep gunning for his board. His board just keeps being replaced and whatnot. And this card in combination with Jinbe is fucking insane. It lets him go wider, because purple Luffy's identity is the fact that we go wide with Luffy Taro and Sangoro. Dofi goes wide faster, and Teach Jinbe, these 2 cards right here, these 2 cards in combination with each other are the problem with the Luffy Dofi matchup. That is why I do think that for most decks, so I think in general Jinbe is the hit. If you wanted to keep Boa, if you wanted to hit Dofi without hitting Boa, then you probably go for Boa blocker instead. Purple Luffy specifically, however, it's the fucking Teach.
You know what
Teach
annoys me about Teach is the fact that like when they do it, my removal on my next turn, half the time I cannot aim at that Teach because I have to deal with the 6k or the 5k that they cheated out. Yeah. And so that Teach fucking sticks. That's what's annoying about it. Like, yes, it's a 2 cost and 3k power. Should be easy to remove, but when I have to choose to remove that, or like your 6k Boa blocker that you just cheated out with your Jinbe because you just set that all up with that 2 fucking cost card and swung 7 at me, because I have to stem the bleed, and right now the 3k body isn't what's gonna make me bleed next turn. That's where that card, I'm like, okay, that's really fucking annoying.
Yeah.
You go Jinbe. Jinbe cheats out Law. Law bounces Jinbe back to hand. Teach puts Jinbe back on top of the deck. You swing with leader ability, you bring the Jinbe out a second time in that turn. Jinbe then cheats out a third body. So off the Jinbe, you now have Jinbe and the 2 bodies that he cheated out. And that's all enabled by one Jinbe, but also this Teach.
Yeah.
So
Teach
that
is
is I don't
yeah.
know. I really fucking I hate this card.
Do you guys think? Do you think that there's ever? So I know some people are saying just ban the leader. I personally disagree with that. I think taking one card out of the lineup. Yeah, I think taking one card, either the Jinbe or the Boa blocker, just makes it still a strong deck, but not as oppressive. So I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, some people are like, oh, just ban the leader. I completely disagree with that.
I don't like banning leaders.
Yeah.
Unless I disagree as well.
Red.
I could see at some point maybe having to touch Dofi. I would never be in favor of it though. The reason I can say that though is because, like, for example, even if you have any one card in Dofi, Dofi's still a really good leader, and then if they release like another good card later on down the line, they probably find themselves in this like tango repeatedly over and over and over. And like it probably gets to the point where you have to stop giving him like cards because you keep putting yourself back in the same predicament of it's like if we're gonna give him a new card, we have to take another card from him.
So I was gonna say the only leader, going off this tangent, that I would ban is Nami.
Nami, 100%.
But it's not for the reason of that I think she's too oppressing. I want Blue to have its original identity back of having actual card draw.
Yes.
Not filtering, but card draw.
So that is an opinion I held for most of One Piece's lifespan, which is why I think like we're probably like it's why it has to be like the Nami hater channel at this point. I will say I no longer do hold that opinion. I don't think Nami needs to be addressed anymore because I feel like Bandai's found a way to play around what they were doing previously. So one, I think that like the fact that pudding exists is one of the things that is keeping Nami in check. Anytime Nami plays into a blue leader, pudding is a factor that has to be taken into account. Nami's also getting decimated by leaders like Blackbeard. She's losing to leaders like Purple Luffy. Tell you what you were saying, Manny, about like the identity. That was my original argument that I used to give. But the reason I no longer agree with that is because I hated that Blue wasn't able to get draw cards. But since making that argument, Bandai has started doing the thing now where like they'll still give Blue draw cards, but they'll make it to where like if you draw 2, you have the bottom deck too and stuff like that, which is clearly made with like Nami in mind. The one thing I don't like that they're doing, however, is now when they're printing cards that go like you can draw a card, but like you have to be a dual leader because now all the other blue leaders miss out. But that's something I don't think Bandai has to keep doing. I don't know why they do it. They don't do it too often, which is but
you're not actually getting card draw. You're just filtering, and that's fine. I'm not asking because the thing is, you go depending like, I'm like if it's a body, then sure, I produce a body that let me filter too. But if it's like an event or something that pluses, there's nothing that says draw 2 cards for the 1 card. Besides Sanji's Peen-Off, but that's just like it's good. But the thing is, like, there's not bodies that say on play draw a card that are now being made after the fact. Like all the cards that say that are cards that are in Nami, and then Bandai does their best to not print those anymore. And that used to be a blue identity. They took that identity away, and then that's why I guess I feel where it's like blue. Like blue has the identity of bouncing and then filtering, not drawing, but just filtering. And I don't know, like I just feel I wish blue had more identities. But then I'm talking about my high horse because green has a bunch of identities, but they're subpar as a color.
Because I feel like this leader existing makes it that Bandai has to be careful about any mono blue cards that come out without being dual colored, and it makes it so that your other mono blue leaders are just not as good. Like Boa could be so much better if Nami didn't exist.
So,
but also here's my thing with Nami. Here's my thing with Nami is she's not fun to play against or with. Maybe some people have fun playing with her, but when you sit down at a table, you're here for some good old-fashioned One Piece. You right? When you play into a Nami, and first of all, to know the matchup means that you have to play against enough Namis to really know all the cards in the deck. No one wants to fucking do that. And then when my opponent beats me with Nami, and then they apologize afterwards because they know that it's not a fun deck to play against, there's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't have to apologize to your opponent, but when you know that you won because you're playing this deck, it's like, all right, it's unhealthy.
I don't know. I don't really. It's crazy. It's so weird. It's so weird because like. Because both of your arguments are arguments that I used to have.
I feel like
because I used to have Manny's argument specifically,
so what changed
because I
your
was playing
mind
Black.
then?
I used to have your argument as well. Like she's still my least favorite leader in the game. So what power creep? I just don't think she's problematic anymore. I don't think that she's a problematic leader because she has so many bad matchups.
That's why I started my thing.
Well, no. So I'm addressing both of your arguments because I'm starting with Brandon's because Brandon's not like losing to her and stuff like that. If you lose to her, that's unfortunate, but that also means that you're just on a deck that had a bad Nami matchup. And that was an argument I used to have in the past, but now there's so many decks that are meta that have good Nami matchups that like if you're on one of the bad matchups, you're on like one of the only like 2 decks that she currently beats in the meta. She still stomps black leaders, but there's currently only like 2 black leaders. It's Teach and it's Lucci. If you're on pretty much anything else in the meta, you probably have a favored matchup in the Nami because Dofi beats her. Purple Luffy beats her.
I think we restrict her to
Red Purple Luffy beats her. Like, she has so many bad matchups now. That's crazy. I don't know, man. That sounds like overkill. I don't think we need to do that. Yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of like, and then to like address what you were saying, Manny. So I will give you, because Blue has gone from draw to cycle. I'm not gonna say that's not true, but also I have no problem with Blue having cycle as an identity because they'll still give you draw, and like for one of the Blue's boss monsters to this day is draw 4 cards off 10 drop Kaido. So I think they still like acknowledge it as a Blue identity. I think that they're just being a lot more picky about giving it out, and I think that's not a bad thing because I don't think you can just be giving out like generate advantage, like draw a card like Weevil, repeatedly. Like drawing 1 card is probably fine, but I don't think we need too many cards that all do the same thing because at that point it's uninspired and it's lazy. And I don't know, I like cycle more as an identity for Blue, and that's honestly just kind of it, because like the only thing I would give you was like the multicolored leader thing, but I'm not even gonna give that make that a knock against Nami, because that is obviously done with Nami in mind, but it's only happened twice in the game's history, and at that point it could also just be argued it's just an incentive to play a dual colored leader. It's not like it's happening every single set repeatedly over and over. It's happened twice. It's happened with ulti, and it happened with the Blurple Kaido event where like you KO like a 5 or 6 cost and you draw a card.
I hate it here.
So yeah, it's not even like it's happening enough to be like something that even needs to be acknowledged, in all honesty. So that's kind of my thing with Nami.
I would say
you guys are the majority here, so we'll go and stick her up there.
Ban it.
A card I would like to talk about, I think we have to address at this point, is Gecko Moria. What are thoughts on Gecko Moria?
Restrict to 1.
I actually don't expect us to agree on this.
I don't either ban him or errata him, and you could simply just
erratas aren't even
huh?
Erratas don't happen in One Piece.
Yeah, they
so
do.
Unfortunately, well, that would be the ideal thing.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
Law leader.
No, they don't. Sakazuki and Law were not. Those weren't erratas. They have different numbers. They were banned, and then new cards were printed.
And that's how they handle their erratas.
That's how they handle the erratas.
I would say the reason,
but it's the same card.
The reason I'm saying too that you can't consider that an errata, and it's not the same card, is because, like, for example, if the ban list drops to 16th and Black Blue Sakazuki is legal, we have 2 Blue Black Sakazukis that do 2 completely different things. If it was an errata, basically the original Sakazuki would no longer exist. So it's just an entirely new card that exists.
I understand.
That's Bandai just bans a card. Yeah. Go for it.
Like, I understand that, but they have done soft erratas, but that was only during like set 1 that they did the soft errata of adding the up twos to everything. But like,
and those weren't even like errata because they didn't change how the cards worked.
Like, I think he would be the good example for the first truly errata card.
I agree. No, I agree. So I'm not gonna disagree with anything regarding like I think he should be Arata because I think Arata is the perfect fix for him. Just lock him to Thriller Bark. As someone who's one of their favorite leads is Thriller Bark, Gecko Moria, I would be completely in favor of it. But my thing is just like with the precedent Bandai has set up to this point, I think asking for him to be Arata is kind of like screaming at the void. Because Bandai has pretty much made it apparent at this point, either they will not touch him, they will put him to 1, or they will ban him. So if we're working within
Logic, I'll put him
that
to 1.
framework,
if you have it,
I would also put him to 1, unfortunately.
I would say
go for it, Brandon.
I would say put him to 1. My thing is him and the 4-cost Rebecca should not both exist at 4. But my problem with hitting Rebecca instead of him is he'll always weasel his way in as soon as we get another really good 4-cost like Rebecca. So I think that's where we leave Rebecca and hit him down to 1 set. It's like you get one really strong play. Even if this card were a 10 drop, dude, I'd still say hit him. Like, it's just way too much value with the cards that we have.
I think at 10 Dawn he would actually be fair because at least your entire play that turn would have to be. Well, no. Because basically, if he was 10 Dawn, it means your entire play is dedicated to doing Gecko. You can't Ice Age or anything like that in addition to him. So, like, he's only able to do whatever is available to you in the trash. I think 10 Dawn would make him. This isn't even an argument worth having because it doesn't matter. He would never be made 10 Dawn. But
I think hit him down to 1.
My thing.
Restrict to 1.
I think. So funnily enough, I'm gonna address 2 different things here. I do think that the answer is hitting him to 1 currently based off what Bandai has done up to this point. Because my argument on him remains the same. So touching on what Manny said, this is a card that as the card pool grows and expands, he only gets dumber and dumber and dumber. I don't think he's ban worthy right now. I don't think honestly, it's crazy to say, it's probably a hot take. I don't think he is problematic currently. I think he was. I think because power creep he no longer is. But I do think as the card pool grows, he will become problematic again at some point in the game. So I guess maybe at that point, just nip the bud and do it before it becomes a problem so we don't have to play in a set where he does become a problem. The reason I will say, though, that currently, like, why I think he should be hit is because while we have not seen him being problematic in current day, because he's only being abused, and like Lucci, who has taken a step back from where he once was, he doesn't top nearly as much as he used to. And Black Yellow Luffy, who doesn't top nearly as much as he used to. His biggest abusers have kind of taken a step back. The reason I do think you still restrict them, though, is because while they're not nearly as represented as they used to be, at the highest level of play, we had a top 4 recently that was 2 Luccis and a Black Yellow Luffy and a Doflamingo. So 3, I'm pretty sure it was actually Nets. 3 of our top 4
Well,
were
the winner
Gecko
was
decks.
Black Yellow Luffy against
So while
Lucci
Gecko,
first and second. So I'm just saying.
yes, yeah. So even the grand finals, it was 2 Gecko decks. So while we're not seeing him nearly as much as we used to, the cream of the crop, once everything rises to the very top, it whittles its way back down to being Gecko again. So that is why I do think that Gecko probably does need to be addressed, because, like, I don't know, you're probably not going to play him as much as you used to at some point, but if you're really, really good and you're making it to the grand finals, you're probably going to run into Gecko at some point up there because he is that good, and there are players that are that good at utilizing him as a character.
I think they should restrict every card to 1 and make us play like Commander.
Oh, that'd be wild.
Yeah.
I would like that. Well, not for like whatever. Let's talk about Gravity Blade. This is a card people want to be hit. I don't think
I don't have a
You
problem with
body.
it. It's a good efficient card. It's 7 Dawn. It eats up a whole turn. The best blue deck that could take use of it, it's Dolphy, and that's only I use it and then I use leader effect and my turn is done. There's nothing else I can do. And I better have hope that I stacked before this moment. Otherwise, I'm just blind firing.
2-drop teach? Come on.
Yeah,
buddy.
it's like.
Oh, you're right. What was I thinking?
Come on. Let's knock out some of the quick and easier ones. Really quickly.
Sure.
Like, all right, like Black Maria, for example.
Oh, who's asking?
Black Maria is one of those cards.
Asking?
Yeah, who's asking?
Yeah, Black Maria is one of those cards where
it's not
literally Kaido needs her, and with her, he's not doing fucking anything. Again, I think it comes back to why kick a deck while it's down.
If Kaido ever gets a purple searcher, maybe. But until then, even then, with how the meta is, I still don't think it would be a problem.
Yeah.
Please, Bandai, just give him his fucking searcher, please.
She was only a problem because of red purple. Yeah.
Bro, yeah.
She was only red
Red
purple.
Law.
Yeah, that was the only time. But now that they fixed him, this isn't even a conversation anymore.
I think Enel, who is
I
even
don't
asking
think,
for this, I don't think Enel's a problem in the slightest.
Yeah.
I think he's
He,
annoying.
that's
is
it.
annoying.
He's just annoying.
He's annoying.
Yeah, but like definitely
annoying.
he's not problematic. He's not ban worthy.
He's not.
He can be restricted to one maybe. That's it.
Another card. So Tempest Kick is another card I don't think needs to be touched in any kind of way.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Tempest Kick is pseudo greater option. Do you think there's any reality where greater?
I don't
so.
think it comes back because Tempest Kick is a balanced version of that card, while that card is strictly just value. Like for Tempest Kick, it's like you could pay the 1 to draw, but then the minus is situational. That was that. I've seen games where people Tempest Kick, so they're just trying to filter, and they now lost that minus for in case whatever they drew was the out. Where Tempest Kick is like sometimes they'll do it, and they lost that minus, and then even if they drew a pop, it doesn't matter because they didn't get the minus.
Yeah.
It's also one of those cards where like initially I didn't like that it was hit, but since it has been hit, I have played Gecko Moria, I played Black Luffy, and I played Lucci. After you switch to like the black side of things, and you see how oppressive and dominant those decks are, and how oppressive they feel to play, and you just think to yourself, "Holy shit! I could be playing this with greater option. What the fuck? I shouldn't have that card." So then it just kind of cements it, like this card should not come back. What about Any's lobby, the stage? Do you think there's any reality where Lucci gets the stage back?
No. That unless two things need to happen for that stage to come back. One, we need to get stage removal as a more common effect. Number 1. Number 2, the stage rule needs to be changed to kind of what like old Yu-Gi-Oh used to be, where it's that they're going to be one field spell.
If I use mine, yours goes away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's what it should be, honestly, because that would be the best form of it.
Yeah. So because at that point decks wouldn't have to like give up a spot in their deck. Like they could just play a stage that benefits them in some way while having removal, instead of having to play like really shitty cards that don't do anything but remove a stage, and then you go into a matchup that doesn't have a stage. But we would need a rule or something that could deal with stages for that to come back. Until then, no.
Yeah.
Agreed.
On the topic of cards coming back, Nick said he wants us to address Black Blue Sakazuki. I can't think of any reason that this card should come back. I can't. This card is fucking Lucci.
Gecko. If Gecko or Rebecca get hit, I wouldn't mind this card coming back.
No, you're wild.
I
can't. As much as I love Nick, I cannot fight the case of that he exists, because Gecko could be banned for all I care, but especially cards now where it's like the Tempest Kicks and all the additional minuses, and then like the Tashigi and stuff like that, where you're like, all right, cool, I have all this extra minus and I could play Gravity Blade. I think
he's so good he wouldn't even play
Rebecca
Gravity Blade.
Hina Lucci.
He's so good I don't even think he would play Gravity Blade is the thing, because like he just doesn't need to. Like this is one of the most overteamed leaders that we have ever seen.
Yeah, but there's the other blue events that he could search that.
Yeah. Well, so basically,
Rebecca Hina.
I don't think there's any reason this card could come. So basically, this card. So we have to think like in current day of One Piece, Any's lobby is on the ban list because of a leader like Lucci, and Lucci is fucking Sakazuki light. Like he's not even remotely. Sakazuki is Lucci with a free cycle. So Lucci like sets up trash by milling to. Sakazuki sets up trash by fixing his hand as the game goes on, setting up cards like Rebecca and Gecko Moria. And not like Brandon was saying, if Gecko were to leave, sure. But either way, he
can do it turn 1.
He can do it on turn 1. He has, and like Lucci is like KOs everything. He's able to bottom deck everything. If Gecko is still in the game, he has the strongest Gecko play in the game because he has Amino Murakama, so he just bottom decks 2 bodies, so he doesn't have to play the Lucci anymore. This is like one of the most... He has 2 insanely good effects for free. He has a we even talked about the cycle.
True.
We didn't
That's
talk about.
fair.
He has a -1 like Lucci. Like, oh my god, this leader is so fucking. The only way I could ever see this leader coming back was if they like unbanned Red Purple Law to keep him in check, and I think that's not One Piece that anybody wants to play. That is not.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep him banned.
Yeah, that fucker's gone. Where is so there is also the
Red
argument.
Purple Law.
Well, since we addressed Sakazuki, Navy HQ, the stage. People were saying
Who's
that you ban
asking?
Navy HQ, you bring Sakazuki back.
Stop. Put it at the bottom. Who's asking?
That's
The
dumb.
card. That's dumb because one, the difference between NS Lobby and that card is that yes, on the turn you play it, you can -2, but then after that you're just minusing 1. And the difference also is that it doesn't have that stupid trigger where it's like, oh, play it.
Yeah.
So I was like, you better have it in your
I will
hand.
give. Now there is one thing that it does have over Navy HQ.
It's searchable.
You get to play Sakazuki.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That is. I think that is I would rather play Sakazuki with a -1 stage than play Lucci with a -2.
Well, yeah.
And I think that speaks to how fucking strong Sakazuki is.
Well, but Sakazuki has a free -1, so it's irrelevant.
Still on the topic of Sakazuki, some people are saying if you restrict Hound plays, Sakazuki could come back.
How do I feel?
Is Houndblaze
Brandon,
not
can I
banned
feel
right
like-
now?
No.
It's not. Well, I mean, it basically is. The only leader that can use it really is Sakazuki.
Sakazuki.
He's fucking gone.
Up to one of
I
your
feel like maybe there's some merit to that argument. However, I will say Sakazuki strikes me as one of those leaders like remember in OPO 4.5 when Dadan, Nami, and Radical Beam all got limited? Red Green Law was still meta because he just switched to a Wano package. I feel like if you were to take like Houndblaze from Sakazuki, he would just find something else to abuse.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about like I don't think
I don't know.
banning or getting rid of Houndblaze.
I don't think so. I think we just put it in there because
I
yeah.
think realistically, like, wait, no, because he's not back. So yeah, so who's asking? No one cares. Yeah. I was thinking, do I put it under annoying? But then I was like, wait, no, Sakazuki's still banned in this in this scenario. So yeah.
Well, no. Remember, the scenario is you would unban Sakazuki to bring back Houndblaze. I mean, you would ban
And
Houndblaze.
who's asking to do that?
Yeah.
Who's even asking to do
You're
that?
right. Who's asking?
You know.
I think the same case with Red Purple Law.
That's true,
where They
actually,
keep
though.
it banned.
Yeah, just keep it banned.
Yeah,
There's no
no,
reason
same.
to bring it back.
This might be the strongest leader this game has ever seen, and I don't know any way you could ever balance this leader. I don't think there's any way to ever balance him ever. Like, I think he's there until the end of time. Yeah, let's talk about Rebecca. She's come up a lot.
Becca.
I could see Rebecca get restricted to 1, I'm not gonna lie.
I could see that 100%.
I'm down for 1. One is a good place to put her. She's just something where it's like Gecko reoccurs her, she reoccurs herself, and how the Dressrosa decks function. They could put her back into the deck and then re-get her again. So I'm fine with her at 1. So the Dressrosa decks could still benefit off her. I wouldn't want to ban her. I don't think she's that strong. Because realistically, what's making her ridiculous is the Navy stuff. It's not the Dressrosa stuff.
Wait. I disagree with that actually. So
What?
I think what's making her broken is Gecko Moria. But I think if Gecko gets limited to
Absolutely.
1, I think
Well, yeah, but
Rebecca's
it's
fine.
Gecko her, but
You-
then she's bringing out the not Navy but CP stuff to then pop off because you don't
The
see
what?
them. The CP.
TP?
Yeah. The reason I don't because like, all right, so I don't think it's a reality where you hit both. I think you hit one or the other. The reason I don't think you touch Rebecca. Go for it.
No, you're just lagging. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
God damn it.
The reason I don't think that you touch Rebecca over Gecko is because not every deck that plays Gecko cares about Rebecca. For example, hitting Rebecca cripples hits a lot of black decks. Hitting Gecko hits all those same black decks, but it also hits Black Yellow Luffy because Black Yellow Luffy doesn't give a fuck about Rebecca.
Yes.
Black Yellow
Yeah,
Luffy
but
only
you
the thing
hit
is,
one of
but-
them, not both of them.
Well, yeah,
Now,
but
I
the
think-
thing is, I would put her to the 1, which hurts all the Navy decks and the CP decks that abuse her to play their bodies, but Dressrosa still gets to play, and Black Yellow Luffy gets to play. Because without Gecko, the Black Yellow Luffy deck just dies. There's no.
I'm fine with that though. It's been here for so long. It has been one of the top decks for so long. I think it's overstayed its welcome at this point. I'm fine with it.
So my thing is, I don't think that you have to. So you only hit one of them. You don't hit Rebecca and Gecko. That just there's no world that happens. And I think you hit Gecko because Rebecca getting a 3-cost tapped body for 4 Dawn on a 0 body blocker is overall not that strong. It's Gecko that makes the whole play strong.
Gecko makes it really strong. Also, not to mention, I don't think you hit Rebecca with like Usopp coming right around the corner on top of it, you know?
Yeah. Which, ironically, he doesn't play Rebecca.
Does he not?
Yeah, no, the list that I've been seeing and playing around with, he just doesn't play Rebecca, because you play more of the blue package.
I think that's more reason not to hit her than even on top of it. Because I was gonna say, because he would play her, you wouldn't hit her. But I think the fact he doesn't play her is even more reason. Because that's like the amount of black decks that just don't play Rebecca. Like, if she was really that big of a problem, every black deck would play her. And that argument applies to Gecko Moria, but it just doesn't apply to Rebecca.
Yep, I agree. I still think Gecko plays, sometimes it's like, that's really strong. So I still think you keep him at 1 and don't just ban him. But yeah, I think you put him to 1.
Okay.
On the topic of black cards, Ice Age. This is, I don't know why, this is one of those cards where when I see somebody, like, I feel like it is the biggest tell for like how good somebody is at One Piece. The minute I see someone ask for Ice Age to be banned, this is a card that I find crazy for anyone to ask for it to be banned, considering this card and every play it's ever being included in. The card itself, like, playing Ice Age is an immediate -1, and then it tries to remove something on the opponent's board. So it's not like you're ever going like crazy. You're never plussing off of it or anything like that. Usually, like, black can KO the opponent's board and go plus. If they're using an Ice Age, unless Gecko Moria is in the equation, they're breaking even. They're usually utilizing 2 cards from their hand to try to remove 1 to 2 cards off the opponent's board. And usually you're using this, so usually you're not even killing 2 characters, because Ice Age, usually you're going for like something like a 9 Mom or like a Blackbeard or something. You're going for a bigger body. So usually you're investing all these cards to remove 1 body from the board. This is also a card that's like a bad top deck. It doesn't do anything on its own. It is a stepping stone that requires you to have another piece. This is like one of those cards that, like,
who's even asking?
Realistically, it's not.
Who's asking? I agree.
It's so crazy.
The way I see it, it's like it basically makes your effects that have removal, say, discard 1 for better removal.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. So it's strong. Like, when it works, but it does not need to be banned, because it's kind of the only reason that black decks, like, I wouldn't say the only reason. It's a reason that black decks can work right now. I think, like, you hit that, it hits them a little bit too much. But it's also not game breaking. Like, to have it in their decks.
Another lightning round of just knocking out some input on All-Stars. People are asking for this card to get hit.
Stop. Put it away. Just put it away.
No, I agree. The reason people are asking for this card to get hit is because they're saying it would be 1 less draw 2 trigger for Nami. But as we have already, I just don't think Nami's a problem, is the thing. So that's why I wouldn't want.
But also, if that's the case, this isn't the card you hit, because if they don't get it off of trigger, it's literally a dead card.
Yeah.
So that's kind of silly for them to.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know. That's who's asking. People are dumb.
They're just mad about RNG, and they're like, oh well, like, I lost to the Nami. He hit triple All-Star and Pinoff, and I lost, and I would have won if he didn't do that. Well, it is what it is, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, unfortunately,
it's one of those things where use banning.
That's part of One Piece.
Yep.
You know, it's one of those triggers there is no playing around. We're losing like
we
that.
We can easily just say keep reject in the band.
Yes, this is a card that can never come back.
Yeah, that card
reject can never come back.
Yeah. Way too bad. Who's asking for 5-cost Sabo?
Some people are saying that they believe that rather than hitting Gecko, you hit Sabo.
Excuse me?
No.
They believe that this is the better hit to kill Black Yellow Luffy.
They're all wrong, and we're putting in who's even asking.
Yeah.
Stop. They're just wrong.
I would say,
if he was a 4-drop and Gecko was able to cheat him, sure.
Yeah. I think for the same reason as Gravity Blade, Red Rock's also just not a problem. In fact, it's even more like
Yeah, Red Rock's not a problem at all.
focused.
Yeah.
What about the Alvita combo?
Yo, okay, so let's talk about this Alvita combo. So this is something we discovered, that this card is problematic, maybe even restricted to 1. This is what we found out. So,
yeah,
hear me out. Me and Chris worked on this. So
okay,
when this starts hitting the meta and people are running this combo, know where it came from. So expand her just a little bit more. I want you to truly read her effect. So Dawn ×1. You know what, Manny? Read it out loud and tell me if you see the combo, because it's staring us all in the face for seconds.
It is.
Now.
It actually is.
Okay.
The crazy part.
Yes.
Dawn ×1. When attacking, you may trash 1 card from your hand. Return up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less to their hand.
You see it, right?
Tell me you see the problem with this card. So you're telling me in a blue-black deck, all I have to do is Ice Age
just
your
a blue-black
card.
deck. Promo Black-Blue Sakazuki.
Promo Black-Blue Sakazuki. All I have to do is Ice Age your card, and I can
Ice
bounce
Age.
one of your 8 or Ice Age -5 to something, and I can bounce your 8-drop back to your hand on a 2-drop body with,
And with
2k
promo
counter.
Black-Blue Sakazuki, if you discard a Navy, you can bounce a 9.
That is insane.
Oh no! And even crazier, because I realized that
I think I'm having a stroke. I think that's
we weren't going to reveal this in this video. However, we weren't going to reveal this in this video.
What horseshit is this?
No. Listen. No. See, I know what you're thinking.
I know.
And so we already addressed it. Because the problem with that is like the problem with Alvita, she's too slow, right? Because she needs to attack. Right, Manny? Is that the issue that you see with this combo?
That's not even the problem.
So rather than Alvita,
one issue. There's a lot of issues here.
Rather than Alvita, for two more Dawn, instead of bouncing a 3 and taking a discard out of your hand, if you play the 4 cost 2000 power Jinbe with no counter, you bottom deck a 9 cost on play.
That's so fucking strong, dude.
The strength with this though is that Alvita plays around Blackbeard.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the thing. That apparently you guys are just like, we're just going to ignore it. So, sure, you're going to bounce a 9-drop because you can't hit 10-drop Blackbeard, number 1. Number 2...
If I play 2 Ice Age, go ahead.
Okay. Sir, we went through half of our Ice Ages. Sure. Anyway, so back to what I'm saying. Let's say you do it. You double Ice Age, bounce the Blackbeard back to my hand. This is what I will now proceed to do. I will swing 5k into the Alvita. The Alvita dies because she's only 3k, and I will replay the Blackbeard.
Wrong, because you had 0 life. Alvita bounced your blocker back to your hand. You just lost that game, sir.
Not to mention, on top of that too, it only takes because if you swing at her with your leader, it only takes 3k counter to keep her.
3k counter to keep her.
Yeah,
and that's a 0 cost event. And by putting 2 Dawn on her,
she can even match the leader. Because you have to look at it like this too, right? So my hand was 5 cards. I played the Alvita and put her on the board.
Yep.
And then I used an Ice Age, and then I used a second Ice Age, and then Alvita discarded a card from my hand to bounce. So while I did lose 4 cards from my hand to put a card back into your hand, because I hit you for 5k because I put an additional Dawn on the Alvita, you also have to discard a card or take, and that puts me closer to the win condition.
Chris, I'm not sure if you remember, but I was a huge advocate for that bitch during set 1 for the sheer reason of that with Dolphy, when green would make me go second, I could drop her on 2, so when they drop Okiku, I can go swing with Alvita to bounce Okiku, so now they lost a turn.
I remember.
I was a huge advocate for that, because I was like, this bitch is busted.
But
you're on our side.
We're talking about being able to bring an Ice Age into the equation. You are on a blue-black leader, that's the problem. So restrict the 1, we can all agree to restrict the 1, right?
What the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. It's a strong play, requires a little bit of setup.
a little bit of setup. Just a little bit, but...
Yeah.
Ooh, hear me out then. Big brain. You don't even need Ice Age. So you go. Check this out. You go. On your turn 8, you drop like 1 or 2 Alvitas. Do a few swings, sure. Turn 10, you drop 10 drop Kuzan. So now everything is -5. Then the turns after, you just bounce the whole board. And you're bouncing 8 drops.
No. I thought you were going somewhere else with this. I was gonna say, what about instead of playing Ice Age? Oh, this is not the right card. So what if instead of playing Ice Age, where is it? Let me see.
10 cost Kuzan and a 2-drop Marshall D Teach.
So here's what we do with Alvita. So we play Gum Gum Bell instead of Ice Age. You may add the top card of your life to your hand, give up to one of your opponent's characters -7 cost during this turn.
Wait, you're now hitting a 10-drop and you're refilling your hand. Drop. This is Alright, she needs to be banned.
I think I'm having a stroke. I think
a 1-of is too much. She needs to be banned.
Am I smelling copper right now?
Get her the fuck out of here.
Yeah, ban her.
Get her out.
I think we're all in agreement. Yeah. She needs to be banned.
You know
I
live in the alternate universe. Sure, why not?
Kabosh can stay banned.
Kabosh is banned.
Kabashi can stay banned. Yes, he never comes back.
Actually, nah.
Kabaji's
Hear me out.
I'm listening.
Bring Kabosh back.
Ban
Mochi.
Oh.
Wait. No. So that was I was initially on that side also, but a new Mochi exists because cross guild.
Yeah.
So now you can resolve Kabaji.
No. But just ban all Mochis, period.
No. Because once we get that promo card, I'm playing Buggy.
People are asking for... Or Manny, you want to talk about zero cost event. For yellow. Yellow zero cost event.
Yeah, it's just...
Annoying.
I just know people are talking about it. I just added it to the list so that we had more cards to talk about.
Yeah.
I think it's annoying, and this would be a card I would advocate for 2 of. If Bandai was ever willing to do 2 ofs, I would advocate for this card. I don't think it needs to be 1 of because it isn't fair, but it is something to the effect of like it's searchable, it's a 0 drop that has a ridiculous effect, and it just happens to be in a color where it can easily get stacked. And I think these effects of like, if you're at 0 life, heal Winky Face, it's like that's too much. Because at least with like cards like, which I think we'll get to after this one, it's like Beige, even though he stops the attack, my guy is still active. So I could be like, okay, well, odds are I'm not losing that character on the crackback. So I have an additional attack for my next turn. While this one says, I now have to commit my other attack to even get him back to the status quo of 0. Which is why I think
for me,
that card's annoying.
I do think it's an annoying card. I don't think this card needs to be restricted in any kind of way, honestly, because I only think this card is annoying in one specific deck. I do think in other decks, because I know it's like the only one where it constantly triggers, and there's also Katakuri because he puts it at the bottom of his life. So you have to basically play Katakuri as if he's a 6-life leader, and now becomes who fucking knows how much life once this card comes into the equation because he keeps like putting you back on.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is like, kind of like how Nami, how like sometimes there's like the all-stars and the peel-off triggers and you can lose to them and it fucking sucks. I think that's just part of One Piece at this point. I don't really think this card needs to go anywhere because while losing to that does suck, I do think again that's just part of One Piece now. I don't think it's
Agreed.
I don't think it's such a big problem that it needs to be addressed.
Also, just use Banish, 5-drop Smoker cards.
Low purple Robin, bro. You just keep hitting, keep swinging.
True. I don't think.
No, yeah. I agree.
It's
an annoying card. Like sometimes.
Anymore.
Oh. Yeah. Who's even asking?
Oh, yeah. I thought you agreed and we were moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. People are asking for 10 beard to be restricted in some way, which I think is ridiculous.
At that point, you might as well just ban the Blackbeard leader. Like that's.
Yeah. This is ridiculous.
That's stupid.
This is actually
if
ridiculous.
anything, I know some people are. I don't see the card here, so I'm gonna bring it up. Not the Tembeard. The Tembeard is fine. The 5-drop Kuzan. If any card were to be hit in Blackbeard, it would be 5-drop Kuzan.
Oh, upcoming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a 5-drop Kuzan? Since when?
Yes. Because that 5-drop Kuzan, basically you can slam it on the board and then save it for whether you want to get a Burgess out, or if you need like something to reduce their cost by 3. It's so versatile, and you get a draw off of it, and your opponent, besides resting it, can't remove it. That's what some people are talking about. I don't think it's a problem still, but if any card were to get hit in Blackbeard, it would be the 5-drop Kuzan.
I agree. I do agree with that. And even then, I just don't even think that would be necessary.
Yeah, I don't think it would be. I like what it does for the game because it makes people play differently, and it makes these like some decks that could just run away with the entire meta can be kept in check with Blackbeard.
That is true. I do think Jack is just one of those black boss monsters that is just here to stay.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with Jack.
I don't think it really needs to go anywhere. It is crazy that his cost is cycling your hand. It doesn't make any sense why that is the design route that Bandai's taking for black, but either way, that is now part of One Piece, and we just have to accept it. Gold Roger, I do not think is a problem.
It's not a problem at all.
Not a problem.
So funny thing is, I was having a conversation with somebody, and they're like, and they're like, Roger's too strong. I go, why? And they're like, oh well, like you can trigger his effect even if I'm player A and I play Roger and I'm losing, I'm at 0. And I swing, and then if my opponent blocks, I win. And it's like, well, if you're losing, he could just take those hits if it's such at this step. And then even if you're at a point where that you are so close, that same amount of Dawn, with however you spread it across your characters, you should still win. So it doesn't matter. The only time this card is like, I won, is if both you are at 0, and he has a blocker, and you spend all 10 Dawn to play him, and then swing, and hopefully they don't have the counter. That's the only actual way this card actually wins.
Yes.
The reason I don't see him as like a problem is to me, I basically just see 10 cost Diable Jambe. Like, yeah. I feel like anyone who would argue to hit Gold Roger has to make the argument to like hit Diable Jambe, and I just can't like, not to mention this is a card like people will probably run it at 1 or 2 copies at most, so there's no sense in restricting it because they're barely playing more than 1 to begin with anyway. And like, I don't know, I don't think you could ever argue to restrict Diable Jambe, and I think if you are arguing to restrict Diable Jambe at that point, it's kind of just like a skill issue.
Yeah.
I even I tried running 2 copies of Gold Roger in the red-green smoker deck, and even then, sometimes when I saw it, I'm just like, ugh, this fucking card.
You never want to play it.
Right. So, ironically, I think it's not half bad in red-green smoker just because you get 3 Dawn back, so you basically get a 13k rush for 7 Dawn. But
it's just one of those cards that when it was revealed, like it had a certain reaction from the community, and I felt like people were overhyping it, and it ended up performing about exactly as well as I thought it would. Like,
it's index, like it's good enough to put in index, but like it's just like how you were saying, like it's just like Diablo Jumbo, where it's like it's here for the scenario of like I need it, like this is the auto win button, but that's all it is. It's just an auto win button for a few case scenarios. If you're not in that case scenario, the card doesn't do anything.
Hey, what do you guys think in Dofi about the perfume card? Perfume La Fleur.
I love that card.
I was going to include it, but I've actually never seen anyone even express a problem with it. I think it's because Dofi has so many other problematic cards that Beamer's not even on the radar.
Yeah, fair.
I think it's fine. I think it's just Diablo.
Yeah.
2-drop Zeus. Who is it?
People are asking for a Luffy Taro. Oh, I guess before we move on, I guess we'll address the real problem. The real elephant in the room. What are our thoughts on... Now, I'm not sure if you guys have seen recently, there's been a lot of talk about people... No, this is true. Within the community, there's been a lot of talk recently about Zeus being overpowered, Bandai having no fucking clue what they're doing, and why would they give Nami this card? Zeus. What are our thoughts on Zeus?
I feel like you're... Wait, so I have a question. Is the alternate art Zeus this Zeus with the same effect, or is it a different Zeus?
There is
What do
no
you mean?
altar.
There.
No.
Let me read. Activate main. You may rest this card up to one of your Charlotte Linlin gains banished during this turn.
No. I understand
Yeah.
that. But you know how
Right.
there's like the one Zeus that was on Premium Bandai that has like Nami like laying on him?
About. This is the only Zeus I'm aware of.
Yep, this is the only one.
This is the only Zeus
This
I
is the
know of.
only
So
Zeus.
everything I've heard up to this point must be in reference to him. So, with that being said, what are our thoughts?
Bro, you tripping
It's crazy
right
because
now.
I've been advocating for this card's ban since day one. It took 10 sets for the community to finally come around and see Zeus as the problem that he really
Agreed.
is.
Okay, first of all, there is another Zeus.
No, it's only the Zeus.
No,
I'm
there's
positive.
not.
I think that this Zeus
only
is
the
too
Zeus.
strong, especially with the upcoming
He is.
Nami and her being able to like feed it with the lightning rod. I think he needs to be.
I hate
banned.
you guys. I hate you guys so goddamn much.
Especially when he eats the little cloud bubbles, and then he gets angry and he does
Yes.
what I consider to be very politically incorrect. He becomes black and violent.
Yep. That's a good point.
Not to mention,
You know how there's been a huge rise in people cheating on online events. All their cards
Yes.
are actually under his little hat.
I've known this since day one, man. This isn't news. You're preaching to the choir.
He's
I know.
the
I've
small
already known
hat
this.
crew.
It's why I've been wanting him banned since day one. Remember, he was the ban-worthy picture at a point in time.
You're right.
Yeah,
Banish, ban,
and I
both
get-
start with a B.
Yes, they both start with ban even. Ban starts with ban.
Ban.
And not to mention, I see because people are saying that in the East that Nami is running the 6-cost Linlin to make the opponent either discard 2 cards or rip a life. Next turn, she plays the Zeus, gives it banish,
Oh my god.
and the 7 mod.
Not only that,
yes,
she can play 2 Zeus.
Yeah. Also,
Double
Whole
banish.
fucking banish.
Chris, you're actually mispronouncing it. It's not banish, it's banned-ish. Because he's banned.
bandish. Yes,
He's banned.
That is- yes.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
think
so it
that
goes
he
without
should
saying
go in the
that-
ban worthy.
Yeah, he's banned.
I think Bondi
he should
is
stay on the ban list.
Yeah, I think Bondi is really just overlooking this card for some reason. They just want it to succeed.
You're right.
Yeah.
They fucking lost the plot when they designed this one. I don't know what
They
happened
lost
here.
the plot.
So Luffy Taro,
We have
I think he's
Yes.
problematic, but not restriction
really.
But not
Oh,
restriction worthy.
This card always sees.
Yep. I don't think
I
he's
don't think
that
it's a
much
problem at all. Yeah, I
realistically.
think he only
I think he
sees
is.
playing one leader. And that one
And that
leader's
one
not
le-
even like top 2.
But you can make the same argument for the 4-drop Boa. Only he's playing one
but
leader.
remember, I had a caveat. I said he's not
Yeah.
even top 2. Dofi is top 1.
Well, that's why I said he's not restriction worthy. I think he's a little bit problematic because we're about to get a lot more Straw Hat cards. Come set 11. The more Straw Hat cards we get,
He
the
can
more
only play purple
problematic
Straw Hats.
this card becomes. So I see right now he's annoying, like he is the deck, and I think in the future he'll be problematic, especially when more ramp comes out. I mean, ramp as it is, they're already on that 7 Dawn by turn
But
3.
one deck
So on
does
turn
that.
3, when I'm sitting here with my measly fucking 6 Dawn, you've already you already have a 7-8 and a 5-6 that's about to draw you cards.
My problem,
I'm not gonna have a good
problem is, as the purple Luffy player, I don't think that he is a problem because he doesn't interact with the opponent's board in any way. The turn you play him, so first you give up 2 life to either make the play happen. You stick him to the board. He also requires you, not only you have to see him, you also have to see a card for him to play, so he requires another piece in addition to himself. And then on top of that,
Jinbe requires
Jinbe's a
another card.
4 cost, and you don't give up 2 life to do it, sir. And you don't cheat him off the top of your deck for free as a +1 with your leader ability.
You don't give up those life though, like they're in
Right,
your
but you
hand.
are playing the game as a 3 life leader. So okay,
Maybe I just need to
yeah,
play purple.
he this
Yeah,
this
you
is.
should.
I don't think a card can be problematic when he's 7 Dawn and all he does is play another body, and then basically because they do nothing the turn that they come out on 7 Dawn, the opponent now has to has all the agency in the world to basically, because like he doesn't cheat out anything crazy. He cheats out Sangoro that can draw a card, or he cheats out Zoro that searches a card. So he doesn't cheat out anything that interacts with the opponent's board. He himself doesn't interact with the opponent's board. So they basically both just come out and they sit there with summoning sickness, and then the opponent is able to answer them before they even get the chance to do something. You know, he basically just kind of acts like a magnet. He comes out, plays another body, and then your opponent answers him, and the body sticks.
But I have to answer them with like 5 bombs.
He gets answered a lot, I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of times where I lose the Luffy Taro.
I just think he's annoying. I don't think he's.
All right, we'll put him here in the middle. We'll put him here in the middle.
Yeah, like I never had an issue against Luffy Taro, so.
Yeah, Luffy
That's
Taro,
just my
he's fine.
No, yeah. I mean, at the lowest,
my problem with him too, so it's like, I guess.
This next card is a fucking problem.
This card.
Gum Giant. Gum fucking Giant. This card is insanity. This card is so
I know it's
oh
weird.
my
This
God.
card is crazy.
But like,
Who's even asking for this?
Who's even asking?
Who's even
Chris?
asking for it?
Especially with blue purple Luffy coming out. I know that it's leader
And-
locked to Straw Hats, but now there's so many fucking purple Straw Hat leaders. This card is a fucking problem.
Blue purple's coming out. Green purple's around the corner. Purple is currently here.
Purple, yellow,
Yeah,
Robin.
black,
I know
purple,
it's
and yellow,
not doing
purple are also
great
decks.
anymore, but like,
But it has access to it.
But yes, exactly.
Right.
And the fact that you can get a 4K counter for 0 cards out of hand is insane.
So,
It goes to
it's
one.
probably bias.
Go for
I
it.
think restrict to 1.
This is so the Manny being the blue dopey player when we discussed Jinbe, me being the purple player while discussing Giant. So again, like Manny exhibited, I believe quite a bit of bias in the Jinbe discussion. I'm gonna exhibit quite a bit of bias here with the Gum Giant. I think that this card is not. While this card is very, 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 very strong, I think that this card is being played in a leader that's not a problem. And I don't think there's any leader that can play it that is a problem, so I don't think the card should go anywhere. I think maybe this is a different discussion after Green Purple Luffy comes out, but in current day and age, I do not think that this card's a problem. It's fucking annoying. This card's insane. This card's so overtuned. But I think the one thing keeping it in check is the fact that it is leader locked to leaders that aren't problematic.
I say restrict it to 1.
I say restrict it to 1 just to future-proof the meta, and the fact that it's like, remember when Radical Beam was at 1? Because like that 4K was just too much. This card realistically represents 5K.
No.
Because
No.
odds are one of the 2 cards you're drawing is at least 1 more K.
Radical Beam was different though. The problem with Radical Beam was that Radical Beam was seeing play in Zoro, Red Green Law, and Whitebeard. This is only seeing play in Purple
this is
Luffy.
seeing play in Purple Luffy, Green Purple Luffy, and it will be seeing play in Purple.
The other decks aren't real.
What do you mean they're not real?
What?
They're not real.
No, this card's definitely
Those decks
a problem.
aren't real.
Those decks back there, they're not real.
The fact that
They're not.
you and I played yesterday, Chris, and because of this card, you almost got out of a 10k Burgess swing, a 9k leader swing, and fucking 3 12k teach swings because of that one card. It's a problematic fucking card. You had 1 life and almost got out of all of those because of that one card.
Look. I like what this card's doing for the game. I want to
bet
see
you
more
do,
like
'cause you're
I'm not
using
gonna lie.
it.
He's like,
I think
whoa,
Purple
hear
Luffy
me
should
out,
get
hear me
more of
out.
these.
You're right. If this card lets me win
think-
games, why should I ban it?
Look, but he's only. This card's being played in a leader whose whole win condition is just beating face. He has no removal or anything. He's just playing primal Unga Bunga fist over your head. And this is his only thing he has to combat everything else happening around.
You know what I say you do, by? I personally think that you do put this list up in the thumbnail, and it will, and even at the end, it will get people to watch the video because they'll be like, okay,
They're
I have to
waiting
know
for
who
it.
the fuck is cooking with Alvita. I have to know what the fuck that Zeus is doing. It's a fucking bait, dude.
Bro, they won't even do
This
that.
shit's a bait.
They won't even do that. They will immediately come into it with their hate boner for like Bounce Law, skip to the end to see where Bounce Law is, see that we haven't said restricted or ban him, be mad, not listen to why we said he should not be restricted, and then go into the comment section. Bro, you're fucking stupid. What do you mean we're not gonna ban Law?
Chris.
Why should we ban Law? And they didn't even listen to why we said
Chris,
it.
what Brandon's saying is you have it in the thumbnail, right? So, but just thumbnail. So it's tiny, but they're like, oh, I think that's that. Let me see why. But you never show this in the video, never. So even if they skip to the end, they're like, wait, it's not here. Okay, well, I guess I need to watch it to find out when it's gonna pop up. But it never pops up.
Easy claps.
And because I said it in the previous take, I didn't say it in this take though. The reason that this tier list is not being included in the video is because when people see tier list in a video, it immediately activates this neuron in their brain that goes, I no longer have the attention span to watch a video. I have to skip to the very end to see where everything was placed so that I can get mad at why there are opinions that aren't my opinion, and then I go ahead and get angry in the comment section, dislike your video, and unsubscribe because you had a different opinion with me, and I don't even know why you had that opinion because I didn't have the attention span to listen to your take. And not to mention, it's not even like, it's also a tier list where there are 3 different people with conflicting opinions with each other or whatnot, so you don't even know how the card even ended up in that tier, because there may have been people that didn't even agree with the card being placed where it was, but you don't know that because you skipped to the end of the video and then got mad at its placement anyway. So that is why. So that is the rationale behind. I think for tier list videos, we'll obviously still include a tier list, but for a video where it's like discussion based, won't include it because the only way that you can get mad about a card's position in this form of video is if you've listened to us. The only way you would even know where it is if you listen to discussion explaining why.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no way to just skip to the end and be mad about placement. So with that being said, anything else before we close this one out, boys?
No, I gotta go. Deuces.
With that being said, then until next time, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
And we'll see you guys.
And that's Pez.
Jump off this roof now.
And that is his
All right,
pacifier.
guys. I got to go. Deuces.